that camera 1's going to slide over and zoom in because we've activated that microphone, which is number 5. So
it's referencing that point.
Exactly. It's communication between our system and the One Beyond system. Basically, our system saying, "Hey, position 5 is open," and so it'll switch over to that. And then what'll happen if Chris activates his microphone? Chris, there you go. What'll happen is camera 2 will, or I guess in this case camera 3 will track over, and now we're getting a 2-shot. That's why there's a primary and secondary for every single camera, is that if one camera's tied up with one person, we'll use a secondary shot. Might not be as good, but it's still getting that person. And when Chris releases, it'll go back to the single shot, and then there's like a
All right, guys, just a couple more minutes, and then let's get going here.
Is that where you're presenting?
Yep. All right, guys, we are going to get to the best part now. That's the best part. We have talked about different ways that you can interface with all this gear. And we're going to dive into the software part now. However, before I do that, I just want to make it clear that, for instance, with a the DDS 5900 system, you can go right to the front panel of the CCU, the control unit, and you can set up 90% of what you need there. So you don't even need to connect with a computer to do that if you don't want to. With the MXCW, you can go right to the access point. There's 4 buttons on the front, and again, probably 80 or 90% of the whole setup that you would ever need to do could be done right from the front of the access point, no computer connected. MXC, to set up basic system functionality, you can go to the CCU and set it right up from the LCD display panel, right on the front. So having said that, you know, now is where we kind of go off the cliff a little bit, and we go, how do we go a little bit better? How do we go deeper here? And we're going to spend all of our time now talking about MXC and related licensing and control. So we have mentioned, and I want to make sure it's clear, how many CCUs do we sell now? One. Comes out of the box as what? 5900. What do we need to make it MXC compatible? Man, this is so much better than Texas and Atlanta.
In every way.
People are just like happier here or something, I think. I don't know, maybe wait until we go to Colorado. They're really happy there. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is the built-in web browser inside of the CCU, okay? And we can go through and I can look at my, under meeting controls, I'm looking at my chain A, B, C, and D, because remember there's 4 DCS LAN ports. It's telling me how many units are connected to that LAN. It remembers any unit that had been connected to the LAN, and if that unit falls off for whatever reason, it will show up here as lost. Even if you purposely unplugged it, it will still show up here as lost, okay? So this is kind of a nice little troubleshooting bit here. Here's our device status down below. We're showing serial numbers for each unit, what chain it's on, what type of unit it is, and is it active or not. We'll page through all of this stuff. One thing to note is that this remembers any units that are plugged into it for life. How do you get rid of it? You remove unregistered units. So if you're a rental staging company, you're hitting this button every time you set up. It gets rid of all the old units, it blows them out, and then you connect up whatever you want and name it, rename it whatever you want, okay? Under microphone settings, this is probably what you think it is that has to do with how the microphones work. Here's our modes, and we talked about auto, manual, Vox, and first in, first out. If I go to auto plus reply or manual plus reply or Vox plus reply, which I really don't get, somebody will have to interpret that from Denmark or something. But a reply is what your second button turns into. So we're in auto mode. Your button right now is a mute. If I put auto plus reply, that second button will turn into a reply button, okay? Why is this important? Well, in structured meetings, it might be the case where we have this agenda and people are going into the request to speak list, and we're talking about agenda number 1, and everybody gets into the queue that wants to talk about it. Let's say I'm talking now. I'm talking, and somebody else responds to my comments. I want to go into a separate reply list that shows I want to reply to that comment instead of just going into the general reply list, okay? So it's almost like a secondary reply list when that happens. Let's see if it works. If I hit auto reply and I go to, let's go here. Now, whoop. Plus reply. Somebody hit your left button We're not going into.
A reply button on the screen on the 640, like the word reply appears, but it doesn't seem to be tied to the button.
Ah, look at there. Okay, so we go here. Ah, here's the different replies now falling in. So we actually have to set this up here where we say speak list. Ah, we got a total of 8. Let's dump that down. I'll even go lower here, 2 and 3. So now as you turn your mics on, go ahead and turn mics on like you're going to talk. There should be a secondary reply or queue list coming up here.
This is only valid with 640 units?
No, it's valid with any of these units.
So where would he get a reply on the 630?
You have a speak button and the one right next to the speak button, the blue, what's the dot, dot, dot button? That becomes your secondary reply button.
On this one, this is the reply button on this.
Yep. And so I'm thinking that Software 6000 is still hanging on to this stuff. Moving along. You get the idea though, right? Okay. We're going to go back to microphone settings. We'll just leave that in auto. Then speak lists. This is familiar, right? How many total speakers and how many delegates. So this, again, we have it set up right now where only 2 people can activate their microphones. Everyone else will go into an active queue. And there's 3 total because I want the chairman mic to always be able to turn on and off no matter how many delegates are activated. Here's the max request to speak, and the max replies just currently set to 30. Under my audio tab, this is where I can go to control loudspeaker volume. So again, if it's too loud, we can drop that down, back up. Here's my input control for the questions earlier that were coming in. There's input 1 and 2 available. You can also route them to channel 0 and or to group A output. Right now, everything is routed to the loudspeaker itself. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what are the 2 audio in volumes in relation to?
The 2 audio, yeah, the 2 XLR inputs on the unit.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, right, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so right now we have an analog input coming in from the ULXD microphone. That's what's coming in. Actually, it's a mix. We're creating a mix inside of Microflex Wireless because it's got that cool Dante mixer. We're creating a mix and we're dumping that mix out analog back into this system just so that we can show that you can share audio between all this stuff. Here's my output control. So this, I've got 8 outputs here, and here's how I assign what I want to go to that output. Remember, we give you 4 interpretation channels for free, and that's these guys. That's where they're showing up. If you were to buy the Vote software, then we're giving you the ability to change to 8, 16, or 31 total interpretation channels. Did we go through a PowerPoint on software? Did we tell you about Software 6000 and all that kind of stuff at a PowerPoint? Okay, he's good. Here's where I control volume outputs for these things. Group setups, we can set up groups if we want. An ambient microphone, we can set these and enable that. I think we all discussed what an ambient microphone was. This is good, especially like if you're hooking this up to a conference system and then everybody turns their microphones off, it sounds like you hung up on the far end or there's an audio problem. An ambient mic is always a nice thing to have just so that you can hear something going on in the room. Here's my devices, participant setup. I can go through all my seat numbers and set these guys up. So again, this is where it kind of becomes important. If I scroll back, I've now sorted by seat number by clicking on that. And you can see how we've given them all, and in fact, given them the part number for which they are, because this makes it set up so that we know exactly what's out there and kind of where it's supposed to go. The device setup itself is specific to the device. I can have loudspeaker attenuation. This is where I assign that left button. Boy, my mouse is wonky here. Ah, look at there. I love sorting through this stuff. What is that going to tell us? Yeah. So for those of you who had 640s and you saw on the screen there was a reply soft button turn on, if I went through and assigned all of these to be reply on, then, for instance, seat number 18, now that left button is reply. Okay? Interesting. No problem. Here we go, devices. Seat number 5. Well, you're not seat number 5. Seat number 5 is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be up there. That's 6. Oh, okay. Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, you can actually pick up your unit. We labeled the bottom. It should say what number it is. 11. Here's reply. So now, when you hit that right button, what happens? Oh, sorry, the left button. The left.
Here on my screen, when you press that, go ahead. Oh, good. See? Oh, because you're talking, yeah.
I'm on a 630, by the way. It's on a, it goes solid blue, but it doesn't respond to the button.
I think we have some more gremlins to look through tonight. Got all kinds of weird stuff going on here. Okay, moving on. How about the name sign setup? So right now we're seeing these name signs, 1, 2, 3, 4. Note that there's no way to pull information from a name sign. It's a static device. You write to it, and it doesn't know anything. It's written to now. It's not storing that anywhere. The physical sign retains that image. So it's not stored in some little bit of, memory or something somewhere. So if I wanted to write, if I leave this one blank and I start typing here, and I hit update, it'll go and refresh all the signs, and whichever one I wrote to, there he is over there. You can identify signs by going into a bit here and click identify. So first of all, note they're all flashing their serial number, which is this list here. So again, makes it quick and easy for someone to identify and set up. I can also just quickly clear all the content. As long as I hang on this page, anytime I want to update, I can just keep adding names in here. It has to write to every sign every time. So it's not going to leave Allen's alone. It has to rewrite it. You'll see him flash. Okay? The interpretation setup is pretty straightforward. I can have, in this case, because we have the full license, I have up to 31 interpretation channels here. I can have it show the actual channel number or an abbreviation for whatever language I want you to go to. It's a 3-letter abbreviation. Some of them, like state abbreviations, just don't make sense, but we don't have to worry about that too much. You get to those by setting up the language setup here, so Afrikaans, Albanian, Arabic, Armenian, etc. You can select whatever you want, and it'll give you a 3-letter designation in there for that language especially on the 620s when you look at the little OLED display. This is where we go to set up the booth for the interpreter, what channels they're using, auto floor, interpretation log. These are things, again, I just don't know that we're going to see that much, so I'm going to skip over it. On the system side, the device status, again, this is good. We talked about that already. I go to my license page. Now, there's lots of good info here. When you order an MXC system and a CCU, what else needs to be on your PO? Thank you. What do I do with that? It gets sent to us in a zip file, right? Ben showed you that. Where do you put that? You can browse to it from here, and you can enter in that file here. This case will tell you the number of microphones available, so our unit can communicate with up to 3,800 total. We have 31 interpretation channels, and then we also, of course, have the 6000 or the MXC option, so FL 6000. This is that button I told you about earlier for those of you that have mixed inventory between 5,900 and 6,000. So it's quick and easy to set this thing up either way, okay? Click of a button. The LAN setup is important. Everything we're using is static IPs. We have static IPs all over the place because all the web GUIs, that's how we get to them, is through their IP, and plus that's just good measure. Security, like the MXCW pages, we've got an admin page, we've got a chairman login, and a display login. They can have their own passwords. Yes, these can be used on like iPads or whatnot, so you know, if the chairperson is looking at this, and again, I like to show this in full screen mode, you know, this look on some kind of a touch screen or iPad or something is actually a really clean, nice view. And I've not had to buy any extra control gear or software. So now, as a chairperson, I can go in and I can turn people's mics on, I can turn all delegates off, I can change if I don't like this, I want to go to manual mode, great, I can go to manual mode. I can change volume level on the speakers.
How do you get that to your iPad?
You need to have like a Wi-Fi router connected to your network, and then dial to that thing that can see visibility of the CCU. Yeah. Language. Watch your language. Boy, we are really sluggish. The takeaway here is, there we go. Don't change this to some, you know, other language. If you don't know how to speak it. It's really hard to figure out how to go back to English after that.
Is there like a paperclip factory reset on the unit?
Yeah, right here is one place to get to it, and it does. Yeah, it to factory defaults.
Back to English if you accidentally put it in Chinese.
Yeah, but you've got to know how to get to system and then factory defaults in Chinese.
I think Brandon's one was, is there a pinhole reset that would put it back to that if you can't read that? You can figure out what
I don't think there is. Ben? Tyler? Yeah, we don't have a precision 0 ohm resistor tool that reset? No, okay.
So don't change it from English.
Don't change it, yeah. Diagnostics report, this is good. If you're having problems in the field and you call support, we're probably gonna ask you, dial into the unit and hit the report button, click generate. This generates all kinds of information. IP config, the host name, how long it's been running, memory usage, what types of file systems are involved here, a bunch of stuff that most of us don't care about, but it also tells you the hardware, the board info, the serial number, the MAC address. All this stuff is important because at some point we may, I don't know, maybe there's a problem with a board and we'll ask you, hey, what's the board number? And we'll know, oh, maybe there was a problem with that. This is a good area to know about what's going on here. Registration timer expiration mismatch, warning 3. Maybe are we running in demo mode? This is fun. New things pop up here and there. Okay, I think you guys get the point, yeah? Lots of information here. And you can save it and print it out as a text document as well. So I'm going to back up here to, let's see, where were we? System security. In case you want to see those other web pages, it's the IP address /admin, the IP address /chairman, or the IP address /display. You can also go here and click on it to open it up, and that brings up those extra windows that we've already been seeing. This kind of configuration, considering, by the way, if we didn't have Software 6000, can we vote on MXC?
No.
Final answer?
Yes.
Incorrect.
You said you can't connect to it without FL 6000.
That part's correct. The question was, can I vote? You can vote. Remember, you can do an ad hoc vote. It's not recorded anywhere. So you can start a vote and you can have a vote, and this is typical of a corporation. They don't really care about recording anything. They just want to take the vote, and then somebody will write it down or whatever. On the other hand, if it's a government-related agency, they might be required by law to document that stuff. That requires another software component called Software 6000-Vote. Now, I think Ben discussed some of these components, right? We went from 28 SKUs to only 8. We did a bunch of combining. Vote is one of them. If he didn't already say it, I'll say it now. When you look at the price list and you see Software 6000 and it's whatever it is, $3,000, and then you see Software 6000-Vote and it's like $700 or whatever it is, that doesn't mean you get Software 6000 and voting, right? The part number Software 6000-Vote indicates you're just buying the voting component to Software 6000. So you have to have Software 6000 plus Software 6000-Vote. Same thing with interpretation. You got to buy SW6000-INT 8, 16, 31, whatever.
So how does the ad hoc voting, fresh out of the box actually work?
Just like this, because we're not connected to Software 6000 right now. So as a chair, oh, I'm a delegate. I got to go over here to devices, device setup. Participant setup, and I am seat 640, seat 4, I mean, scroll by seat number. I'm still in the wrong place, sorry. Devices, participant setup, this is where sorry, guys. I'm totally befuddled now. I think our network is just... Speak list, voice detection not there. Why There we go, device delegate. I have a feeling Software 6000 is still hanging on. Let me answer your question just verbally. Remind me your question. A chairperson can start a vote. I'll just do it from here. So this is the chairman? Yep, chairman. I can go to my voting tab on the display screen. I can do 3-button secret, 5-button secret, and I say start vote. Now you should all see voting.
And so on the 640s, it shows to everybody on the LCD, and on any other devices, the chairman sees it.
Right. Yep, so I can stop the vote, and those who have 640s can see the results. I can redo it from here. I can accept it and say okay, but the second I hit okay, that information's gone.
But that can only, so fresh out of the box, that can only be done with at least one 640 in chairman.
Right. You need at least one chairman to do it, yeah. Okay, so that's the web GUI. And you say, but wait, I want more, better control, and I don't blame you. We're adding Software 6000 now, so I need to close this out. Because only one thing can talk to the CCU at a time and make changes. So now I'm going to have Software 6000 take over the database and take over all the hardware. In order to do that, I open up what's called CUI. This is a conference user interface. All this does literally is open up the communications channel between the software that's living on a PC over there. There's a software on a little NUC, Software 6000, that's then on the network with this hardware. So we see this little icon pop up down here. I'm going to open it up just to show you. I'm going to say show list, and we'll start to see this thing populate. This is communication stuff going back and forth to the CU6000 and from CU6000. So we start to see all kinds of data there, especially even if you were turning on and off your buttons. I think I know what the problem was. We were in a meeting. So this is really good, actually. This is like troubleshooting. This is stuff you're going to find yourself in the middle of in a field. We had Software 6000 running a meeting. Okay? The meeting was active. We killed Software 6000. The CCU is still in the meeting with whatever parameters were set up for that meeting that Software 6000 would do. So that was totally user error. I screwed up. And the way that we can define that is under the CAA, Conference Administrator application. This is where you go to define all of your meeting bits and pieces. I click on meetings, and oh, look at there. That meeting is active. Our presentation meeting was still active. So if I had stopped this meeting, all that crap I was trying to show you back in the web GUI, it actually would have worked. Okay.
It's interesting it didn't give you any type of error message though, like you're currently in a meeting. You know, like it seems
Actually, you know what it did, and I wasn't paying attention. The chairman view and the seat table view was showing, but everything was a little lighter gray, which means you don't have control of it. So that was my error for not noticing that. Okay. You notice we have all these meetings in here. Again, the idea is this is a structured meeting. So we have a presentation meeting that we fire off. That's just a generic thing. Great. We go into a presentation meeting everywhere we go so we can have back and forth communication, very simple stuff. But the reality is when we switch to the NFC card meeting here, you remember everything changed, how the whole system operated, and you had to use your NFC card to even activate the microphone. All these system parameters are set in here. So I can say MXC count, this is the meeting that we set up for today. Notice that it has a meeting name that I can change. It has a participant seat table. What that is, if I go up here to my seat table, it lists all these names over here on the left-hand side. These are all potential participants that are actually here, that are part of this meeting, okay? I can add and remove these guys as needed to add different people into this meeting. So if I have somebody standing in proxy or something and I want to put their name in so that it shows up on the sign or whatever when we start the meeting, we could do that. We'll do this from here, the seat table. These are participant seats. Make sense? Okay. Also, here's my agenda. So we can start with pledging of allegiance, opening remarks. I can make changes to any of these. Opening remarks, notice that there is a title here for it. There's also a short description, and there's a longer description. Do you remember on the CDA, when he clicked it, there was a big description, and then after a certain amount of time, it collapsed down to a smaller description? This is where that's pulling that information from. I can add to any of these things. If I, let's say, let's say, nope, we want to add something in here, I can insert another line, and we can add another topic in here that's related to that. Very simple and easy to do, to add the agenda stuff. You'll notice here that when I did that, everything turned yellow. That means I have made a change, and I need to update this thing if I want that change to stay in effect. It's a database. We are actively accessing the database, so maybe that puts this whole thing into perspective here. The SQL database. Notice on the vote, there's a 3-button vote here configuration, so this could pop right up and go straight into 3-button voting on the agenda once they get to that item. All these things are configurable however you want. I can also import an agenda using a Word doc that has a word table on it. So this is standard stuff. Enter in my agenda items on a Word doc and have it imported in and have it show up right into this list, no problem. There is a start and stop date. It's not particularly smart to just have a meeting that runs on forever. If you have city council meeting every Monday night, what we recommend you usually do is have like a template that you start with that has all the basic parameters, and you can just copy and copy one. You want a copy meeting? Yep. Now it'll show up here at the bottom. Excuse me, where did it show up? It would show up as a copy, and then I can make changes to that meeting. But it has all the basic parameters already in there. The reason that is because we started and stopped this meeting already, and you remember we had it voting and all that kind of stuff. If I could start and stop that same meeting again, I could record different voting results, couldn't I? Would that be legal? Maybe in some countries, but most no. How do I know that? If I go to my report and go to meeting, I've highlighted that meeting that we just had today. I can go to meeting log. I can see different types of stuff here. Let's see here, that one, create report. This takes, depending upon how much information is there, it could take 10 seconds to 30 seconds or so. It'll create a PDF, and it'll pop it right up. This is especially useful for folks that want to print stuff out and have it sitting on a printer as you walk out the door. This is a document of our meeting. This particular log report tells you everything. You can have different types of log reports, but it tells every time somebody turned on and off a microphone, how long the microphone was on. Let's see, where is... Golly, this mouse is really squirrely. Here's our vote. Maybe use this instead. There's our vote. 3-button vote, result, yes, 3, et cetera, passed. It can tell you how people voted, et cetera. This is a non-editable PDF, unless you're good with other Photoshop devices, yeah. This can be downloaded, like I said, and documented, handed out. All right, so let's look at our participant table. We kind of talked about our prepared table. This is the actual whole list of everybody involved, and it remembers everybody. If you're not here, it'll add you in. You can do things like, Russ, you can give a background description. Why would you do that? Well, if you activate that microphone, perhaps you want to see a photo and a quick bio or something of somebody who's talking. This is especially useful when you get into these larger situations where you don't necessarily know everybody or don't know what's going on with them. You can add extra things like voting weight if they're part of a voting group. So in other words, here you could say, you could create voting groups like Republicans and Democrats and Independents or whatever, and you can assign them to a voting group. You can have mic attenuation. So if you know this person is always a loud talker, you could automatically have it come on, so wherever they sit, however you assign them that seat, you could have their microphone already set up for them, okay? This is where you can go to add messages, so you can build these into your meeting. You could also have them be more on the fly. Usually it's more like built into the meeting. The clerk already knows that they're going to send a special message to certain participants or the mayor, like, hey, you've got 5 minutes left, or whatever it is. These can be built in or sent in real time. We talked about reports. The setup the setup tab is what you would think it'd be. I can set up my equipment. Here's my conference units. Every seat number. I can see what mic is on. I could do a mic check. I could scan for all my mics connected, and they would all populate here. I can quickly set up how units, whether they're chair people or delegate units. Simple and easy. If I wanted to set up ID cards, this is something that Brandon was doing earlier. So we would enter in everybody's name. You could go in and program a selected name. You throw an ID card on the unit over there, and you would be able to program that information to that specific ID card. If we haven't said it already, for those of you that have an ID card, we printed these off. You're welcome to take them with you. They were printed. Normally they would come just white, without the chip, by the way, no chip, but just white. And what one of the guys back at Shure did was they have a thermal printer. And they tell me, I don't know, they tell me that you do cold thermal printing, which kind of sounds like a contradiction of terms, but this is a cold thermal printing. If you use hot thermal printing, it would melt the card potentially. So this is kind of cool. You get these cards from us. If you want to print fancy things on them, great. If not, no problem. And, yeah, question?
Where's the software,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
the software for printing these? I know you gotta get the little card thing that you stick these in.
Yeah.
Where do we get the software? Is that a Shure product or?
No, it's all third party.
Okay.
So you'd buy oh, Ben's got something.
Yeah, there is a small NFC cards.
This was regarding printing. So you have to buy the printer, the thermal printer.
No, I mean identifying.
Oh, identify.
Identifying, put the information on. We download that for sure.
Yeah, if you Google Shure NFC, you'll find the download package. It's available on the MXC page as well.
So you can check it out over here. We have the little app along with a card programmer. Of course, you can use Software 6000. So if the system has Software 6000, you do it through here. Easy enough. MXCW, though, there's a perfect example, right? I don't need Software 6000. How do I do cards for that? Okay, name signs, we can do that through here as well. This is where we start to get into whether it's a single seat or a dual seat for the name signs. There's templates that you can have set up. Do we want a single seat 1 line, a single seat 2 lines, a dual seat with 2 lines? Where you get to that is through configuration. So again, we can go to name signs under configuration, and now we see all of these other bits and pieces, including the scripting bits, where you can change every component, basically, of how this. We had a question. I was working on the show when we kind of first were seeing these, and when we would write to it through the web GUI, it was considerable space. And he goes, yeah, but what if your name is Arnold Schwarzenegger? You know, and it gets this long, what happens? Well, this is where you can actually go in and change the font size, the positioning and all that, so that if you do wind up in some of these countries that have, or with folks that have really long names or titles or whatever, you can change this all to fit what you need to have there, yeah? Okay, what else can I tell you about here? ID cards.
It seems
Meeting displays. So we can configure, remember the Mimic and the CDA? This is where we can go to configure different CDA configurations. The size, the skin, so, and the skin is the thing, the background. Here's the ones that come with it. There's just different colors, and then there's that world background. This is where you load in whatever images you want for the background. This is how you set it up. You want to show screen, you want to show the agenda, you want to delay it for 6 seconds. All this is completely customizable however you want it to be. Okay. So moving on, tools. If you go to system messages, this is another kind of good troubleshooting bit. I can look at this here. It's showing me what is connected to what here. It shows me the valid licenses are found. So if you have troubleshooting issues, we might ask you to go to the tools section and look at that. Also the license information. So we're physically looking at Software 6000. I've got all of these things. Remember, Software 6000 comes with all of this stuff. Great, it's all activated. I got Software 6000 Vote, so that allows me to record the vote. I got Software 6000 Advanced, which means I have advanced meeting management, microphone control, agenda control, and speech time control. All that comes with Advanced. I even have ESI, which is our external system interface. This allows for several different things: streaming control and setup, web service interface, import and export of meetings. In addition to that, we have the CAA. Remember, we get 1 license for free. Remember that? Software 6000, we get 1 license of CAA for free. We have a total of 3 available because we bought 2 extras. We have 4 licenses of the CUA, the Conference User Application. That's the thing the clerk was using, right? How many of those do you get for free? 1. So we bought 3 more. The CDA, that's the thing that displayed stuff up on the screen. How many of those do I get for free? How many of those do I get for free?
1.
None. Sorry. Just making sure everybody's awake here. I don't know.
well, I'm sorry because you're probably going through this, but can you review again why would we need more than 1 for any system?
So the you're talking about CDA?
We've got 3 CAAs or 4 CUAs. Why would we need more than 1 to unlock the feature?
It's per seat. If you have 3 computers and you want to run Windows on each one of them, you have to have a different license for each computer. It's the same thing here. If you want to have more than 1 conference administrator application, which is this thing we're in right now, if you want to have more than 1 of those, you got to buy more licenses.
So some crazy 3800 meeting might have multiple clerks that are managing things, and so that example would need multiple CAA.
CUAs probably.
Okay.
Yeah. So to be clear, a CAA, that's usually living, it's on the network somewhere. It's on a PC on the network, and that's the thing that somebody a week in advance or 3 days in advance is setting up the meeting. It doesn't have to be the clerk. It could be the manager. It could be, you know, whoever setting up the meeting. The CUA, the conference user application, that's the thing the person uses live at real time. It's that nice clean cut thing, and that's the clerk or the manager as well, or a technician or that type of thing. So, right, CDA, you get none. You have to buy those. And in this case, we have 3 licenses. There are a total of 4 Nooks over there. 3 of them have CDA licenses on them. That's so that we could have a completely different display on each one of those. The question came up earlier, and I'll just remind everybody, what if, you know, I wanted to run just one computer and I had, like, for instance, the CUA running on it and the CDA? Sure, you could do that, but you're going to need 2 different video outputs because I know what I'm doing, and the CDA will get mapped to that other video output, okay? Does that make sense? Cool.
Hey, Chris, just to clarify, that's not installation of those pieces of software. That's how many concurrent connections from those softwares can be made to the CCU.
Correct.
So you can install the admin application on 700 computers, but only 3 can connect simultaneously.
That's right, yep.
I guess because we get one free of the CAA and the CUA, if you're doing a basic type of setup, you've already got what you need.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless
so-
you need to display, in which case you add that third, you add the display feature, the CDA.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Another example of CUA, so remember there's actually a license on that laptop for CUA. That's so the mayor, who wants all the control but shouldn't have it, can actually see is their own version of this of the user application, so they can do mimic and they can do whatever they want from there. That's not uncommon. In fact, a lot of times it's set up on a touch screen. I think I've mentioned this before, so that they can easily jump around and see things, yeah? Okay, guys, is there any questions about Software 6000? We skipped over easily 60% of what this can do. I believe it's because you're probably rarely, if ever, going to run into it. I went over the things that will be most important for you to do a demo. And I'll share with you my experience with doing demos. If it's for a city council, if it's for any entity that actually publishes their agenda, you know, freely, that you can get to on their website or Facebook page or whatever, it's really cool to actually go in here and set up a meeting. Use their agenda. Go in and go on the website, grab their pictures, grab their names, set the whole meeting up so that when you show up on site with the gear, it already feels familiar to them. They can see their agenda, they know what that is, they can see names as they start to turn on and off stuff. That's almost half the battle right there, is showing them, you know, how their meeting would work on our system. Question?
I'm still on that other mode. Is there anything online that we can use for end user training or certification, like for a clerk or a technician in a boardroom?
Great question. We do have online certification for this product. It's not specific to a clerk or a manager. It might go off the deep end a little bit, or it might not be enough. We have several different, there's like a sales enablement, there's a technical enablement, there's an end training type class. The question has often come up, does Shure offer a certification training type thing on site? It's $1,500 a day. You can program that into your bill if you want, you know, your invoice, your bid. We can come out and make sure everything's good to go, help set up that first meeting, and do some basic training with these folks. Ideally, all of the dealers that are able to sell this stuff can also get up to speed. We want that support. We want you guys to really be the front lines, but we want to support you.
Yeah.
So.
I'd say a la the way that we've put out Axient digital videos and MXA and other helpful tips for integrators and dealers to be able to get that little 2-minute refresher that they need. Mm-hmm. It seems that as you went tab by tab, those are like 5 or 6 little 2-minute or 1-minute little refreshers that would make it really clear to the end user in a very succinct fashion. Oh, you want to do that? Here's that
Yeah.
piece of it. Here's that piece of it.
It's almost like wireless workbench, you know, be doing bits like that. I agree.
I'd like to vote on that.
Let's see if I just want to see if I can get to that here now. Apply. All right, we'll check out that unit later. That's all I've got for software. Any other questions? The last thing we're going to do is go through a bid spec. And that wraps for the day after we do that. No other questions? All right. I'm glad everybody was writing notes. Have all the parts number memorized. Software stuff, you know the compatibilities, because now we got to put it to the test. And I got to switch positions. Quick reconfigure, sorry guys. Okay, so no, you can't know what this is. There's no more bidding. You can't have the job. Reps don't go after this project. Names have been struck to protect the innocent. This is a real bid spec that went out, and it's already been awarded. But it's the idea here, we want to go through this, and you guys need to be taking notes, okay? I want you to write down what you think this stuff is so that we can compare notes at the end and make sure we get all the right stuff. So this is, basically this is for legislative chambers. They want a new fully equipped audio-video system for the chambers. For ease of use and overall flexibility, a Shure/DIS full-featured turnkey conferencing system with integrated microphone, loudspeaker, mic mute controls, request to speak, and built-in ad hoc voting capabilities shall be provided. Well, we already won on one ground, right? They called out Shure. Good. This approach shall create a highly flexible and reconfigurable user interface for both the council, board, and staff members, as well as provide a system that shall be easily operable by users of various technical skills. This approach shall also alleviate the need for ceiling-mounted loudspeakers over the dais and will permit much better audio clarity by utilizing a compact loudspeaker at each location. So we're starting to get a little bit of a framework in mind of what these parts need to be. The system, using feature license, shall expand for more comprehensive standalone agenda and voting functionality. This further clarifies what it's supposed to be. The intent is to provide a flexible, expandable system, conference system that consists of small desktop microphone stations, yada, yada, yada. Shall be divided into 4 station types: chairman, delegate, staff, and lectern. At each, so we're talking about locations, not how the thing functions. We're talking about locations now, yeah? Each location shall include a gooseneck mic, a small format loudspeaker, as well as controls for microphone on and off mute. Depending upon the location, the stations shall include either a touchscreen or buttons for both control features and future voting options. All LCD display equipped chairman and delegate stations shall be capable of being reconfigured based on the user group profile, such that a certain station shall have blah, 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 blah. At each of the lower dais, so now we're into our stations where we're located. So if I were you, I'd write down lower dais. At the lower dais locations, the conference system shall include 7 conference stations with buttons for push-to-talk, mute, and integrated LCD screen for future voting. Each one should also have a 20-inch gooseneck with a loudspeaker. What product is that?
640.
Which 640?
This one. The non-630.
MXC, right? Because we have an MXCW 640 as well.
MXC 640.
Yeah. Okay. There should also be 8 similar conference stations for the upper dais. Write down upper dais, equipped with just button controls, sermon level control. What are we talking about? Good. These stations shall be capable of voting and card-based identification depending upon council, board, or commission. So this is a multi-purpose room. I don't remember if I mentioned that earlier or not, but multi-use space. They're going to use chip cards. For the clerk and staff, at the end of the lower dais, there shall be 2 integrated conference stations with LCD display screens. These units shall be for staff use and shall be configured as needed to control and assist with managing request-to-speak queue or, if needed, as well as ad hoc voting controls. What should that one be?
2 CAA licenses on computer if they're looking to.
That's good to note that. But what is the hardware right now? Right, we're back to MXC 640s. There should be 1 microphone station on the portable lectern. The microphone station shall allow for microphone to be turned on and off remotely. The lectern shall have a small loudspeaker for audio support from the microphones on the dais as well as presentation sources. What is that?
620F.
We're not quite sure, but it's certainly not a 630 or a 640, right? MXC. So it could be flush mount or it could be a MXC 620, but we know the whole thing is portable, so it gets hauled in and out. Here's a bonus. Whoever gets this, I'll buy you a steak. The audio system shall include 2 new wireless microphone systems, 2 wireless handheld microphones, and 2 wireless belt packs associated with head-worn microphones for high-quality audio and hands-free presentations. The intense wireless microphone shall be utilized for audience questions and ad hoc presentations. The wireless system should be Wi-Fi based and shall allow for additional transmitter types to be provided, such as gooseneck desktop units. Transmitters shall utilize rechargeable lithium-ion batteries and shall include desktop charging dock. What is that?
MXW.
Does MXW work in Wi-Fi?
GLXD doesn't work. Nothing, I mean, other than GLXD, but you're not going to get GLXD with desktop charging and the other things. So.
That's why I blanked out the name of the consultant on here. And I don't owe anybody a steak. I'm joking. I don't. Tim will buy you a steak.
Most people think DECT is Wi-Fi.
So that's the problem, right? It operates similar to how Wi-Fi operates, but it operates in the DECT band. In this case, you're right. It's MXW.
That's a steak.
Okay, he goes on to talk about 70-volt stuff here and things that we don't really need to associate with. Oh, what's here? The new legislative chamber audio system shall include a new hearing assist system for full ADA compliance. To address privacy, the system shall use 2 wall-mounted infrared emitters and 10 portable receivers with ear speakers and telcoil loops. What's that? Bingo. Digital IR system. Yeah, you could use that. Now, we don't have telcoil loops. However, they're readily available from a number of different sources, so.
Just plug it into the same receiver and you're there.
Yep. Displays, and, okay, here we go with the equipment list. Are we ready? Here's our sure stuff. MXW APT4s. There's our MXW system. We got 2 handhelds, a couple of belt packs. Here's our ear sets. There's a network charging station. Here's our conference systems. Did you have 9 MXC 640s when you total up your gear? Good. How about 630s? How many of those you got? You're cheating. You did. I'm talking to the guy in the back that's like looking at the screen. Oh yeah, 8. I got 8. There you go. Looky here though, MXC 615, 1. That could be that podium. I don't know. I don't know yet what this was for, but he's also included the MIX, MIU, FL. That's the long one, right? FL. With the MIU, which is required to make that thing work, remember? So he's got one of each. I don't know if that's a CYA or what that is exactly.
That's not understanding the product, because especially if you're saying it has to be portable, unless they're taking the podium with them, you're not gonna put a flush.
We don't know though. So maybe he doesn't know either, or she. Here's one that a lot of people forget, the gooseneck mic, MXC 420. What's missing off this part number?
Yeah.
Dual flex or single flex, yeah. So we need to have some designation there. It's not complete, but it's enough there for us to know what he wants, what he's talking about. Okay, here we go with our software licenses. We have to have a CCU. What else do we have to have? Let's start first with hardware. Remember, feature licenses, FL feature licenses are hardware specific. SW software are Windows specific. So FL 6000, we gotta have one of those. What else do we gotta have?
2 CAAs.
Okay, probably software 6000 to start with, yeah? Okay, so we get software 6000. There's our CAA. Remember, it comes with 1. So do I need to buy 2?
No.
I got an extra one there. CUA, that's the user application. It comes with 1. I bought another one, so I have 2 locations for user applications to go. Here's my CDA, Conference Display App, so there's only 1 place where we're going to display stuff, yeah? Because how many do I get for free? None. How about voting? Do I get voting for free? I can do ad hoc voting, but I can't record it. So I gotta add software 6000 vote.
Well, and it references future features, so
Yes,
you leave the door open for whatever else they're gonna do.
that's right. He's got some other basic stuff on here. I'm not sure why there's a repeater. I don't have a plans view of this system or anything to show kind of what his thoughts were, why he wanted to put a repeater in there, but it's there. He has went and labeled PCs as sure to identify basically, hey, you know, there's going to be a conference, so this is like where the CAA is going to go, and then there's a CDA on the display one. There's a couple other things. Oh, yeah, I got rid of it. So this is real. I mean, this is a nice spec. It allows for multiple use, and it's real in our market. Again, I just want to emphasize, when this product first got introduced here in the U.S., it was introduced like we're in the UN and we're in, 300-member parliaments and this and that, and all of us went, I don't have any of those in my backyard. I guess I'm never going to sell that product. The reality is this product works for lots and lots of different locations and applications and uses. We just need to show it to folks. I think recognition is half the battle here, seeing it out there in the wild. We need to demystify the software 6000 and all that stuff. I know it's deep and wide and complicated, but when we learn the handful of features that we use 90% of the time, it's going to be a piece of cake. We'll have it. For the reps in the room, I don't know. Tim, have we sent out the demo gear list? Okay. I just want to make sure you all understand that if you can download Software 6000 today and install it on something, and it will be absolutely worthless because you have to have it connected to a CCU in order to do anything. So from a demo perspective, again, for reps, we are going to recommend that you have a dedicated laptop sitting in a case with the CCU, And then all the other gear is whatever it needs to be. But a CCU and a laptop that are married together, because when you send off and you get your license, it ties the computer you install Software 6000 to that CCU. And it's not that you can't ever use it with a different CCU, but it's not built to be like portable that way. Like, oh, I'll just connect to this system now and to this system. It's really meant to be like, this is my complete system, integrated system package. So again, from the reps, dedicated laptop, dedicated CCU, and then we're going to recommend that you have one of each of the units at a minimum. So a 630, a 640, a 620, probably not going to need a 615, just not really worth it. And then the installed units, the flush mount. And if we didn't say it already, you can look at the table, you can see the different flush mount units, a woodworker guy, and you can get an idea what those things look like. So, man, right on time. I said 3:30, I think.